Well, my next guest can relate to the highs and lows of final year exams. Both completed their New South Wales High School Certificate exams last year. Gavin Fernando studied at Penrith High School and Danielle Robertson graduated from PLC in Croydon. Thanks for coming in. Gavin, let's start with you. We've just heard there the pressure, well, I mean, for both sexes, obviously, but perhaps that boys don't cope with it as well. Was that a case for you?
I think boys were more likely to sort of pretend that they didn't care. Like, you know, that'd be stressing, but I think girls were more likely to talk about it and say, like, if they were stressed, if they were worried about, like, not doing well in an exam, whereas boys were kind of like, it was kind of like an image they had to maintain where, like, you know, like, that they didn't care, but they obviously did. So,
Well,
yeah.
Danielle, what do you think it is that girls cope better and consequently do better in their exams in the final year?
I think, especially with my school, I think it was very competitive. So it's a lot of, there's a lot of encouragement with your teachers and everything, but also with students, because it's a lot of comparing with marks and everything because I went to an all-girls school, so it's a lot of comparing with marks and everything. So it's kind of built up to make sure that you do well. Whereas I think with guys, it's more, if you do well, you're kind of, it's not like built up or anything, it's just...
Now, that's an interesting point you make. You said you went to an all-girls school. Mm-hmm. Do you think it makes a difference? And Gavin, I'll ask you as well, if it's co-ed or if it's same-sex, do you think that makes a difference in your overall performance?
Well, I think because I went to an all-girls school, I think it was very competitive because it's a whole bunch of girls all together, so it was very competitive with everyone at my school, which can be good and can be bad because it can add a lot of stress. So that's what I think about an all-girls school.
Gavin?
I don't really think it makes a difference in terms of, like, there was a lot of competition at my school as well, but it wasn't really gender specific. It was just everyone was competing with everyone. But I do think girls generally work together a lot better than boys do. Just, I don't know, they're just more comfortable together than with boys, I think. So,
well, you actually did very well in your final year exam. Did you? I mean, I've heard comments that if you do very well as a boy at school these days, you cop the tag as being a bit of a nerd. Did you cop that at all?
I went to a selective school. We were all nerds.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. I kind of, yeah. You kind of get the nerd label a little bit, but like everyone's still really happy.
Whereas
for
girls
you know?
don't get that.
You know, I think it's more competitive. So if you do better than your friends, they're like, "Oh, I got to try and beat you." That's how it was for us as well.
It's all about rankings and stuff as well.
So you try and beat each other.
So you both have some good perspective now. You're a year out from doing that exam. How would you rate it? Obviously, when you start school, you're told this is what you're working towards. This final exam at the end of school.
Well, I think personally, looking back at it now, I think there was a lot of unnecessary stress that I put on myself, and I still think I could have done just as well without that added stress I put onto myself. So that's what I reckon this year.
Oh god, yeah, the HSC is the most overrated thing ever, I think. I mean, I've been at uni for a year now, and literally nobody has ever asked me what my ATAR was. Like, nobody cares, because like half the people there didn't come straight from school, and it's just not important, you know?
And I think there's too much focus on that one particular mark that you get at the end of the year rather than how you've struggled to get there and how much work you've put in to get that one particular mark. So there's too much focus on just that one thing.
But who's telling you that? Are the teachers or your parents saying, if you don't do well in this final exam, then your life is ruined?
Teachers, I think.
Yeah,
They were giving us the pep talk from like year 7, honestly. So, yeah.
Because I definitely didn't have any pressure from my parents. I think it was more pressure that I put on myself because it was you get so much hype about it and you hear about it all the time. It's like, wow, like, I have to do so well, like, this is it, this is this one mark. But looking back at it now, like, it shouldn't have been such a big deal.
And just finally, do you both think anything could change to perhaps redress that balance between why girls are doing so well and perhaps boys are not? Is greater encouragement needed for the boys?
I think we need to stop taking such a serious approach to the HSC. That might, because then people, burn out and things get really stressful, whereas, I think we need to be more encouraged that, yes, the HSC is important, but there are other ways to get into a certain course. You don't have to do, get a 99.95 in those exams.
I think also maybe in boys' schools or something, they should maybe encourage you more throughout the year because once you get to the HSC, that's only 50%, so you've already done half, so maybe more encouragement throughout assignments and things like that, because maybe I think the boys leave it a bit late and then they just leave it to the exam and not work all year, so maybe consistent effort throughout.
Okay, Danielle Robertson and Gavin Fernando, thanks very much.
No worries.